In this video, I'm going to demonstrate one of our other really common manipulatives that we use in class called the Cuisenaire rods. We call them C rods for short. So this is going to be representative of the line model. Remember, pattern blocks were representative of the area model. So in the line model, we're really just talking about length. Okay, so here's an example of some C rods. Okay, so let's talk about some different examples that we can look at. So if the brown, the top one is brown, I know the color may be a little off in the video, but if the brown represents the whole, then what would each of these smaller pieces be? Okay, notice that each purple would be a half because it takes two equal sized pieces to make the whole. Notice each of these reds, it would be a fourth since it takes four equal sized pieces to make a whole. Okay. If I want to go even smaller, the smallest size piece in a C-rod set is not necessarily standard as far as color goes. In some sets they're white like this one, in some sets they're tan. Notice it takes 8 of these to make the whole, which is the brown length. And so each of these tan/white pieces would be representative of 1/8. Okay, but just like with the pattern blocks, you would want to vary that. You don't always want to make the whole the same exact thing. And so if we change what we consider the whole, so let's say this dark green is the whole, notice in this case it'd be much more challenging to talk about what a purple would be. Okay, not impossible, but much more challenging. Okay, we can take out the lighter green. Notice purple is not a half anymore. In this case, if green, dark green is the whole, then light green would be the half. Okay, I'm going to slide over some of these. Notice it only takes 3 of these to equal the whole of the dark green, so each red in this case would be a third. Okay, and then I'll slide these over as well if they'll cooperate with me. Notice it only takes 6 of these guys to make that whole green, so in this case the white/tan pieces would each be a sixth. So I want you to take out your problem solving with fractions worksheet. Okay, that looks like so. So you should have been able to find that in your week 1 documents. So we can answer 1 through 17 relatively easily. So we're going to do one of those together. And so let's look at maybe number 5. If the white strip is 1/10, then what color is the whole? Now remember, white is the tan/white. So number 5, so what we would need to do is, if each of the tan/whites represents 1/10, then how many of them would we need to make a whole? We would need to line up 10 of them, right? So if 10 of them equal a whole, 10 tenths should be a solid 1, right? So you just need to find the color that would be the same length, okay? Notice in this case that that's orange. So the answer to number 5 would just be orange. Okay, let's slide those off. Let's look at number 8 together. If the white/tan is 1/3, so notice I only left 3 because we're looking at number 8. If each of them represents a third, then 3/3 would be a whole, so we just need to find what color would be the whole in this case, and in this case it would be the light green. Okay, so you should be able to do 1 through 17 using this strategy on this worksheet. Just kind of fill in and just practice using the C-rods. When you get to 18, they're a little more challenging, so I want to look at a couple past maybe 18. But let's look at 18 itself. If the dark green strip is 2/3, so notice this time the numerator is not 1. That's what makes this a little more challenging. So this block is not one piece, really. We have to picture this block being split up into 2 pieces. So we want to split this block into 2 pieces so that each of those 2 would be a third each, right? So this is a third and a third for a total of 2/3, which is the dark green here, okay? But notice I'm being asked what color would be the whole, okay? So we know it's going to be longer than this, but the question is how much longer? So this is a third and this is a third for a total of 2/3. If I add a third one, then I have 3/3, which of course we know to be 1. Okay, so we just need to try to figure out what length. So notice brown, no good. Orange is a little too long, so just keep trying. Notice in the end it looks like blue works out pretty well. Okay, so blue would be the whole in number 18. So notice what we had to do. We had to start off with what we had. We had to relate it to the whole so that we could come up with our answer. Okay, so last but not least, let's look at maybe one like 24. Okay, if the purple strip is 1/3, then what is 1/2? So I'm going to slide these off. So here's the purple strip. Okay, so the purple strip is 1/3, and I need to go to a half. So remember the hint I gave you last time. So we always want to try to relate it to the whole when we can. So I have an older C-Rods set, so I know this color looks different, but technically that's purple. I just have a mixture of sets. So why did I put 3 of them together? Well, because if one is 1/3, and this is 1/3, and this is 1/3, then all of them together would be the whole. Okay, so notice now this long strip of 3 represents the whole. Okay, so I don't even have to necessarily find what color is the whole this time because I'm being asked to find which color is a half. So I'm trying to find which color, when you put 2 of them together, would equal this entire length here. Okay, so once you play with these a while, you'll probably be able to pick out the colors. So notice that, and why am I trying to do 2 pieces? Because I'm trying in number 24 to figure out what 1/2 is. So if 3 purples is a whole, okay, we related it to the whole, and each of these dark greens, if 2 of them make a whole, then each of them must have been 1/2. So the answer to number 24 would be dark green. So I want you to try to practice on this worksheet, kind of filling all of that in. And then your homework is going to reflect both the pattern blocks and the C-Rods. Oh, one more thing. I also want you to know how to draw these, and that can be a little challenging. I don't want you to have to always have the blocks out. So if I wanted to draw something maybe a little more simple, so let's look at how I'm going to want you to draw these with colored pencils when we don't necessarily want to have a whole lot of detail. So let's start again with, make sure you can see it, I guess. That'd be good. Let's start with these kind of simpler ones. So let's go back to the brown being the whole. Okay, so how you would show this in picture form is you would just start off with a line of, any length that you want, okay? But we're going to call this the whole. Okay, so we're going to say that equals 1. And then if I want to demonstrate with my colored pencils that I want purple to be 1/2, then I'm just going to use my colored pencils, and I want to make the overall length the same, but notice I made a little gap there. Okay, so it took 2 purples to make a whole, right? But notice in the end I still have a total of 1. 2 halves equal 1 whole. And then if I want red, notice if you look off to the right, I will need 4 of them, right? So I know there aren't really gaps in the Cuisenaire rods themselves, but we leave gaps just to be clear with the person trying to read this that, hey, I'm talking about different pieces here. And notice each of these would be 1/4. And again, this would be 4/4 or 1. Okay, so notice like the overall length of the groups is the same, but I'm showing kind of in picture form what I have there. And I'm using colored pencils to do that. So again, you'll definitely want a set of colored pencils.